effectively representing your people of Chiboga, even before Chankwas broke off. You come from a district that was one of the frontline districts during the NRM revolution of 1981 to 86 that brought the NRM to power. We would much more be interested in wanting to know from 1994 to date, what have you managed to deliver to your people? Because we understand that Chiboga, Chankwas areas, these are one of the cattle corridors and the water-stressed areas. In the area of water, clean water delivery to the people, what has been your contribution towards that area?
Well, this is a million-dollar question. If I can give an accountability of my tour of duty since 1994, cows will have to come home. Probably I may need days and days because those are more than 20 years ago. But what I can say is that since 1994 to 1996, that was a period of Constituent Assembly where we were supposed to deliver the 1995 Constitution, and it was delivered. And my contribution made me re-elected in 1996 to the Parliament of Uganda. And I was lucky that hardly 1.5 years after 1996, I was appointed by the President to join him in Cabinet as a Minister of State for Luwero Triangle. And this indeed gave me an opportunity to interact with those who contributed towards the struggle, because my mandate was to make sure that I help in rehabilitation, and I am remembered for assisting people in construction materials like iron sheets and cement. And then I introduced a restocking program where we were giving some families
Before
cows.
we get to the restocking program,
Yes.
let us talk about you attending war claimants in the Luwero Triangle areas, which take Chiboga as one of the frontline districts of the war. There have been issues of people complaining that others, their claims have not been attended to the government, by the government in power. How have you, during that time, to date, how have you managed to handle this issue, to pose an end chapter to it? Because we do see every time when it comes to campaign time, election all the time, we normally have people from Luwero Triangle, Chiboga areas complaining that what they offer has not been settled.
That is something which will not come to an end for as long as President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is the one leading this country. It will not end, because now we are seeing generations of claimants. The children and the grandchildren are also approaching the president and asking about support, because they come from families which worked with the president to liberate this country. So the war claimants will not end. And I think the problem is that when you get to learn how the liberation struggle started, there were no agreements which were made which we would follow immediately after takeover. People just came out because they realized that they are supposed also to contribute towards the liberation of the country. They came out, they lost their relatives, they lost their property, and because there were no records of who gave what during the struggle, we see people from all corners of this country claiming. For example, when I was in Luwero Triangle, I looked at a file where the acres of cassava which were being claimed were bigger than the acreage of Uganda itself. You could cross over to Kenya, okay? Somebody claims that he had 20 acres of cassava. He contributed 10 acres, contributed 30 acres. So when we added the entire Uganda and beyond, you know.
And you don't rule out forgery also.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying that for as long as President Museveni is in the chair of presidency, we shall always see people claiming, abazukulu, they have to claim. They may not know whether their dad, their late dad, was compensated. And I don't want to use the word compensation because people lost lives. How do you compensate?
But we have
the casino, which they expected. Okay? So we are seeing double, triple claims. We are seeing some people really cheating others. And that's why, for me as a former Minister of State for Luweero Triangle, I did not get involved in registering people. The President always establishes a committee of people like Major Jacob Asimwe or Colonel Jacob Asimwe and Veteran Sedunga and for example in Chiboga we have Historical Nume. Those are the people who were with Muzei when some of us were in school. Yeah. So if it's Nankabirwa to be in charge of registering people, I will not know who the rightful people are, the rightful claimants are, because I wasn't with them in the bush.
Now, we have had reports, Honorable Nankabirwa, of people disappearing with money of the rightful claimants. Has this come to your attention? Did it come to your attention? And what did you do about it?
No, during my period, that did not happen. That did not happen. And at that time, we had established a system where the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs was involved, because something concerning compensation has to begin from there. What we were supposed to do as the ministry, we were supposed to, working with, again, the other committee I've talked about, we were supposed to prepare lists of claimants, and then the Ministry of Justice moves ahead to compensate.
Now, let us move away from issues of war veterans and claimants. The issue of land question in Chiboga, Champans areas, I do understand that part of it was a reserve forest, but along the way there were the need to have land, there was need to degassette the place. But we do understand that the indigenous people in Chiboga still suffer issues of being landless, still suffer issues of being squatters on lands which somebody would say, as indigenous people, they would have a big stake. How have you managed the issue of the landless Chiboga people, issues of squatters in Chiboga?
First of all, the land question is a question for the entire country. It's a question for the entire country because when the president came in power, he wanted to put right everything that went wrong. You remember Amini's decree, where he decreed that land belongs to everybody, and therefore he abolished the Mayo land. And when you abolish the Mayo land here in Uganda, it is something very, very big. We treasure our land so much. So the president, in his wisdom, promised the people of Uganda that he will return land to the rightful owners. So Mayo land was reintroduced in the 1995 Constitution of Uganda. But that Mayo land, because of the decree that Amin had established, people went on and settled on people's land, you know, the Bibanja holders, and there are many. So we were faced with that question, and we accepted to put two owners, you know, to recognize two owners. First of all, you, the landlord, the Constitution gives you that right of ownership. Then the Chibanja holder, who has been there for years and years and years, and he has nowhere to go, was also recognized as a bona fide Chibanja holder. So he was having two people recognized to own the same property. That is where the problem is. And as I speak now, the Land Act did not remove any ownership from both. So here you are, first with the landlord or the siblings of the landlord claiming their land. Or they want you to pay busuru. And the busuru is not enough. They're saying this is little money. We cannot do anything. We want to benefit from our father's land. Yes. So in Chiboga, like any other part of this country where we have Mairo land, we are faced with that problem. And the only solution I'm seeing is probably to put money in land fund where the needy can get access, clear the landlords, stay with your Chibanja as a bona fide. And maybe the landlord, after getting money, will sign transfer forms. The second type of land is public land. The outcry from public land is big, where you are sitting on land whose lease was probably 45, 90 years, and it has expired, and you don't know. Nobody has helped to sensitize the people, because we don't know, we cannot know every information about every piece of land. So somebody goes up,
changes the titles, and
claims or applies. You know, for lease, a lease tenure system, you go and apply through the district land board, and they will give you, you will fill papers, and they will acknowledge and give you that piece of land.
Is this a matter that concerns you, that disturbs you, when you look at your people
so much
being landless?
So much. And you know, Uganda is one of the few countries where people own land. You know, I have my title, government cannot take it. If government wants it, you have to pay me. In Rwanda and other countries, land belongs to government. And there are no problems. But here, we wanted our land. The Mairo land, we wanted it. But that Mairo land is having problems of Bibanja holders. Our great-grandparents used to treasure Bibanja holders, actually, because they were seeing them as source of income. If you have harvested groundnuts, you have to take to the landlord. Everything you do, you have to share with the landlord. These days, the Bibanja holders are seen by the landlords as problems on their, yes, on their land.
Well, now, Honorable Nakawa, also we do understand that the girl child, the issue of the girl child, given the report that came out during this COVID time, where it was indicating that many pupils ended up getting pregnant. And Chiboga also was among the areas where this problem was a menace. How are you managing the issues to do with the plight of the girl child in that area?
Just sensitizing the parents and the children wherever we go. First of all, under COVID, we are restricted. You cannot call meetings of many people. You cannot. We are restricted. But we have to just sensitize and encourage the girls to stay put so that they can, an opportunity can come so that they go back to school. But it is a problem that has been brought by COVID. Like death has come through COVID. The whole world is experiencing unprecedented deaths because of COVID-19. And it will remain on record that the world lost people during the pandemic. Likewise, business people have lost. Some of them may not recover ever. They have lost their businesses. People have separated from their families. Our children have dropped out of school because they've gotten pregnant. The boys are also having problems. Don't look at the girl child alone. the boys, some of them are also wasted during this period. It is a period that came, and it came with the problems. The recovery may be a very big task. In some areas, no recovery will be done. People have died, businesses have gone.
And the issue of early childhood marriages.
The laws are in place. What is remaining is to put that sense into parents and those who think that they can only marry those young children. Those men who really see our kids as wives. You know, the laws are in place, but people go ahead behind scenes and they make girls disappear. Big people who have children who went to school, who completed school, but you don't want somebody's daughter to complete school.
Well, now let us go delve into the issue of Buganda Kingdom. You are one of the strong pillars of the kingdom in the central government, where you have been for quite some good time to date. We do understand there have been demands to do with, yes, I do understand in the areas of claims of land titles and pieces of land that belong to government. Government returned almost probably 75% of the titles to Buganda Kingdom. What has been the progress of the remaining percentage?
Tremendous progress has been done. The relationship between our Mengo government and central government is cordial, it's very good. And recently you witnessed when the Rolls-Royce car was returned. And when I visited the Katikiro, he also tasked us to request the president to rehabilitate the car, which will take a good number of pounds, you know, in terms of money. Because according to the Katikiro, we want this car to be back on the road where it can even fetch money through tourism. Tourists can use the car. You can decide to marry your wife and use the car. You have to pay money so that government takes part of it and Mengo government takes part of it. So we are moving on very well with the rest.
We do understand that, of course, the Mengo establishment has been complaining that some parts of East Land, on which several prison facilities do sit, and the district headquarters in the central region, and Massa's and so on, just still in the hands of government. And,
government.
Is this an issue that you are taking serious as a representative, a pillar, a strong pillar of Buganda?
Yeah,
in the central government?
Government gets involved in so many things, and it's not that we don't want to clear once and for all. If I can tell you what is happening in my church, Church of Uganda, we also have land where government has premises, and we need money as Church of Uganda. The Catholic Church also demands money from government. The Muslim, they also demand money from government, but because these are institutions, we move, you know, with government, and they listen to government. Likewise, what is important is the relationship. Do we talk? Do the institutions talk to each other? The answer is yes.
You have said that as government you don't want to offset these things at once.
It's not a matter of wanting. We are constrained. This is what I said. It's not a matter of wanting. Sometimes government gets constrained. You deal with this one, another problem comes. So you need to see how to balance. Yeah.
Well, the issue of course, there has been a major threat to do with Buganda Kingdom, looking at the central government as an establishment that is posing a major threat to its supremacy when small new chiefdoms emerge and government sanction them, people to have their own cultural institution. Is this a matter first as a Uganda woman, two as a leader representing, having full representation in the central government. Is this a matter that when you look at complaints coming out of your kingdom, that when we see small
when did you last see that? You were staying in the past. I've told you, and I've told our dear viewers, that the relationship is good. Didn't you see the president visiting the Kabaka in Banda with a document?
That's true.
The president, have you ever seen the president moving out of State House to go and visit the Kabaka in his palace?
Rarely.
Very rare. And he was with a document under his armpit himself. Okay? And I am sure that the relationship we are seeing now came from the interaction between the two principals. And so the issue of small kingdoms these days does not come up. It doesn't. And I wouldn't like us to keep on drumming. People are in Uganda. People are enjoying their culture. And I don't want to begin bringing memories, bad memories, Yet the two principals agreed on the key objectives that each one of them will have to follow. For as long as I am enjoying, when the Katikiro visits me in Chiboga, we work together in programs that help our people to come out of poverty. Mwanyi Terimba, you see both leaders of central government and leaders from Mengo working together. For example, in Chiboga, all the sub-county Abami Bamagombolola, those leaders at the sub-county, they are riding motorcycles, cutters of Nankabirwa, Then at the parishes, Abemiruka, at least they have bicycles, cutters of Nankabirwa, who is a member of parliament. So for me, I really
talk about your fight against poverty in Chiboga. We did know that poverty has been a menace in many parts of the country, not ruling out Chiboga.
Yeah.
You are telling us that Boda are now happy, cutters of Chiboga, cutters of Nankabirwa in Chiboga.
Boda?
Boda riders. Who are the other group of people that are happy with Nankabirwa's efforts in the fight against poverty in Chiboga? Putting aside the Boda guys.
Why did you single out Boda guys? Well, there are programs that have been introduced in Chiboga because of my efforts. This program of Emyoga, moving around, it started with me. We were 14, 14 youths who came to me, and I started helping them on how to mobilize. They came from Kasanda. And indeed, the president ended up visiting Kasanda and said, you establish, form groups of people who are doing the same enterprises. For example, the carpenters, the welders, the saloon operators, restaurant managers, the youth leaders, the women leaders, people with disability, so that we can put in money for you to use, That's where the Myoga came from. But for me, I had already, earlier on, approached the president to help me. And there are border associations, which at that time when I approached the president, had registered, like the Kamukam, where I'm also a member. I'm number 777. The president gave us money. First gave us 30 million, gave us another 30, and we are building a storied building in Chiboga town. Others have been assisted in one way or the other. But the women, the youth have been introduced to programs where they access affordable finances. And we have created a PCA, a parish community association, at every parish, And our target is to have 30 millions rotating, because we have people who just need 100,000, 150,000 as capital. Abochagonja, those who are doing commando, and there are many. They are in towns. Somebody is looking for 200,000 to begin cooking tea, serving tea, you know, hawking tea, or katogo. So, and we thought of that as something that is going to help. It is in Chiboga. I don't know whether it is in other districts, but at least it is in Chiboga, and money has so far come.
So how much has been going to women? Because I do understand in 2016, during the presidential campaign, she was talking about the women fund. And she was talking about over 250 billion shillings to inject as a women fund. How much has managed to go to Chiboga?
I don't have the figures, but I know that every financial year there is money that comes, money for the youth, money for the women, and money for PWDs. The youth livelihood, that is the same. And small groups have been benefiting. I may not have data with me right now, but I know that there is money that has been going not only to Chiboga, but to other districts. And some money has gone through SMEs, those who are employing other women, small and medium enterprises, through Microfinance Support Center. And I think it's Honorable Kasoro who could be having details of the amount of money.
Let me talk about the issue of clean water, extension of clean water, which I really did start with, but we ended up delving into other issues. Chiboga is one of it's one of the water stress areas, because you both have cattle keepers and partner farmers. Would you mind give us a clear picture? What your progress in the extension of water services?
I am happy to say that water used to come from the border with Nakaseke. There is a river, you know, and it used to go to Single Barracks and then Kapeka, where we have the industries, and it was not taking this direction going to Chiboga. As I speak now, we got that project. Water has been moved from Kachinga, and it's going to serve Bukomero, it's going to serve so many other programs. And recently when I visited Nakatete, Nakatoke, and some other areas, I was told that the pipes did not cross the road. So that good water serves only the upper, Masiriba, Ewamruana, and I promised them that we will bring the engineers back on site to make sure that we get the pipes to cross, dig the road, cross the pipe, take water to the other side. So that project is big. There's another project in Ruamata, which is also soon starting, which is going to supply water almost towards Chiboga Town Council. There is a water source at Kunsanvu Musatu, Chetume, which was commissioned by the President on the 27th of February, 2018. He came, commissioned that water, which goes up to a hill in Chiboga Town Council, supplies Chiboga Town Council. We are under the umbrella. The umbrella, people have been in Chiboga, they want to extend many taps, and also to make sure that water is softened. This water from Chetume is a bit hard. We have also dug dams. We have desilted dams, working with my colleague, Dr. Kefa Chwanuka, who has been the chairperson. I designated him to be the chairperson of a committee handling electricity, water, environment, and mineral development. So we've been able to get in touch with the responsible people to help us in terms of desilting dams, in terms of digging new dams, in terms of digging boreholes. The challenge remains at repairing the boreholes that break down. That comes to me as an individual, and I'm feeling the load, I'm feeling the weight. Everywhere you go, where you think people go to the borehole and therefore they are okay, sometimes you find when that borehole
people want
okay.
you fix it as Nankabirwa, not as government.
Not as government.
All right.
So what I have to do in the next term is to make sure that districts are given money to repair boreholes. It is useless to continue giving, boreholes without looking behind to check on the established boreholes. Are they still working, or they are there in name and they're not working?
Well, lastly but not the least, as we get to the end of this interactive Race 2021 with you, the government chief whip, Ruth Nankabirwa, the issue of health delivery issues. Of course, the last time I passed in Chiboga about a month ago, I did see on that Chiboga hospital a new ward coming up.
Yeah.
Well, the cries have always been, well, government has put up medical facilities, but the drugs, facilities to be used in the hospitals, it has remained a big challenge. Of course, coupled with the stealing of drugs by medical personnel in the hospitals. Is this a challenge in Chiboga? Are we seeing drug theft? Are drugs in the hospitals?
Again, like I told you about the land question, the issue of drugs is a national issue. As government, we took a decision to emboss all our drugs. You emboss, not for sale, government of Uganda property.
See.
But still, you find drugs leaving hospitals.
Finding their way in private pharmacies.
Yes. And then the issue of attitude of our health workers. Yes, they have problems. Their salary is not that. These are our children. We also have children who are doctors. We encourage them to work in government hospitals. So if we are not giving them the befitting salary, it's not that we don't care, because we who are in government also have children who are doctors in government hospitals. So the issue of drugs and medical facilities is still a big question. But we have been able to establish, now countrywide, we have been able to establish big hospitals, at least where one can go and be accommodated. Here in Kampala, the Cancer Institute, the Women's Hospital, with state-of-the-art machinery in that hospital. I visited, I saw. But the challenge now at the grassroots, LC3, every sub-county is supposed to have a health center 3 with a doctor and drugs, so that we bring services near the people. I have to accept that we still have a lot to do regarding stocking medicine and also keeping guard of the stocked medicine in the hospitals.
This time round, with that performance that you have alluded to in Chiboga area and part of other parts of the country, are you seeing the NRM sweeping by either 95% in Chiboga?
We will not reach up to 95%. The highest we go is 80, 85. Yes.
Well, thank you, Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa, for sparing your time and being part of the Race 2020.
You're welcome.
We look forward hosting you again.
Thank you.
And wish you a successful campaign trail.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.